Prices might be down, but today has been one of the most bullish days in crypto for the last year or so that I can remember. Breaking news after breaking news, new narratives are emerging, money is being made, massive partnership with Cronos and Trump media, Ethereum news, altcoin news, Solana, Cardano. We're going to talk about Cronos. We're going to talk about Bitcoin. There's a lot to talk about. Today, I'll be joined with Magic Internet Money to break down the charts. Is the bottom in, trying to scalp some long trades on Bitcoin. We did hit a short on Aerodrome yesterday. We're talking about it live on the Sistine Trading channel. But without further ado, go ahead, Gino. Let's sorry. There's a little lag there. Welcome back to Sin City Crypto. My name is David. I'll be your solo host for the day. As you can see, my partner in crime, Rob, is out today. Big day for him today. Yeah, that's all I got. I was going to make fun of him or something, and yeah. But, guys, I know the prices are down. Today's a very bullish day. I'm excited to be here with you today. Let's start with the news. Now, I did put out a Cronos video before the live show, so if you're joining from that Cronos video, welcome. Stay tuned. We got a lot more news to share. But let's start with the breaking news here. This one was pretty massive also. Shout out to our Rumble community. Xterra Greg said, hola, what's going on, brother? Okay, this news dropped this morning, early morning on the West Coast. From Crypto.com, breaking news. Today is a historic day for the CRO token. Trump Media Group, CRO strategy has been announced, and $6.4 billion in funds to build America's Cronos treasury. At closing, Trump Media Group CRO strategy is expected to be the world's largest holder of the CRO token. Now, this number, when you think about, I mean, first of all, anything with a B after it is a big number, okay? But we're so used to 20 billion, 15 billion, 10 billion. You see 6 billion, you don't think it's that. Put it to you this way, okay? If you go down and you look at the entirety of Cronos, the market cap, it's 7 billion, okay? So money that is equal to the amount of the entire market cap of this coin is about to enter the charts, okay? And so in the video I did earlier today, I gave more deeper thoughts. I talked about the potential of, a lot of people are saying, does it mean there's going to be a lot of selling? Is this bad? Now, I wouldn't buy Cronos now, okay? The train has left. It's currently going maybe not 100 miles an hour. It's going 80 miles an hour. It'll come to a stop. You'll see a retrace. And I'm going to have Magic break down the Cronos chart. Where is it going to retrace? But just simply looking at the chart, and this is something my boy Rob would do, looks like 13 to 14 cents if we get that pullback based on market conditions. Now, if Bitcoin was climbing, alts were rallying, I think this thing would probably sit at around 35 cents right now, 40 cents right now, 45 cents right now. But for it to run to 20.5 cents from around 15 cents, okay, a 30% move, while the rest of the markets are down, sentiment is in the garbage. Bitcoin is down from $125,000 down to $110,000. Alts are bleeding. ETH is under 4,500 bucks. Well, maybe not right now, but it was under 45, got to like $4,300. And Cronos is up 30%, was up 30%. On year to date, you can see here up 137%. Well, not year to date, but over the last 1 year. So from August of last year. And so I do think there's going to be a pullback. When that pullback comes, if this news has excited you, of course, I'm not telling you what to do with your money, but if you're looking to buy, I would wait for that pullback to buy. I do think there's going to be a pullback, or maybe there won't be a pullback. The market's turning and we're off to all-time highs. I'm willing to bet that there's going to be a pullback, and I'm going to sit on the sideline until that pullback happens. Because I feel I have exposure to CRO, but not enough. I mean, this was pretty big news, but it didn't stop there. Okay, it didn't stop there. They also announced in the same day, we're excited to share that Crypto.com and Trump Media have partnered to make CRO a utility token of Donald Trump's social media platform, Truth Social. In line with the partnership, Trump Media will purchase approximately $105 million in Crow token for their balance sheet, which is roughly 685 million Crow. Okay? This is, from my understanding, in addition to the $6.4 billion. So, on their own, Treasury, utility token, they're both massive news. Combined together in one day, that's pretty huge. Then, of course, you had Justin Sun on X saying, big news coming tomorrow, big news coming tomorrow. And so we'll see what his big news is. You know, he's been clout chasing with the president. Not to say that anyone else wouldn't clout chase with the president. Shit, I'd probably clout chase with the president. But it's just interesting. So shout out to Crow. Shout out to Crypto.com, to Cronos. We should have seen this coming, right? And maybe my co-host Rob, who was talking about Cronos literally yesterday, maybe he had some insight that he didn't share. I don't think he did, but maybe he did. But from the news that we had gotten 3 months ago, 4 months ago, 5 months ago with the ETF filing, and I remember Donald Trump Jr., Eric Trump tweeted something about Crypto.com, and Chris was invited to the meetings, and probably should have seen this coming. But it's here, and it's happening. And is this the big... I'm curious to know in the chat, okay? We're going to do ones and twos in the chat. Is this the biggest Treasury announcement of this cycle? 1 for yes, 2 for no. Remember, you have obviously with Bitcoin, you have MicroStrategy, you have MetaPlanet, you have a bunch of other ones. With Ethereum, you have SharpLink, you have Tom Lee, and I think it's Bitmain or Bitman. So we have a bunch of them. Does this take the cake for the biggest Treasury play of this cycle because it has a Trump name attached to it? Put a 1 for yes, put a 2 for no. I'd love to see the response of the community and what you guys think. If you're bullish on it, if you're bearish on it, let me know. Of course, it goes down the wrong pipe. So far, I got all ones. Risky, Macro, Tizar, Brokyoshi, Aaron. Rusty said 2. So, Rusty, I'm curious, if this is not the biggest play, what is? What's the biggest play? I mean, think about it this way. Michael Saylor buys $3 billion worth of Bitcoin, $5 billion worth of Bitcoin, but that's, what, a tenth, not even? A hundredth, and I know my math is going to be off here, a hundredth of what the market cap is. They're literally buying the entirety of the market cap of what the coin is right now. And so that's something Chris talked about in his AMA, which I shared in the video, again, that I posted this morning. So if you're here and you haven't watched the Cronos video I just put out, wait till the end of the live, and hopefully you'll be redirected. If not, just go to our videos. You'll see it's the very last video we posted. Go watch it. I give more in-depth thoughts, but to me, this is massive news. And just what I like to do with this news, and I was having this conversation with Gina, and she asked a very good question. It's a very novice question, but it's a very good question. She said, so are you buying Cronos now? I said, no, I'm not buying Cronos, right? The pump on the news is over. If you buy Cronos now, in the long run, yes, you'll make money, but you'll have some short-term pain. I think there's going to be a pullback. You wait and you buy there, okay? We're going to continue to see these throughout the cycle, and I'm going to share some news. I put out a tweet yesterday, or an X post yesterday, about people are just so quick to jump the gun about the market being over because of price action. They failed to zoom out, remove their eyesight from here, which is the charts, to here, which is what is actually happening on a foundational, on a fundamental level. And I think if people do that more, you'll understand why a lot of people like myself, like Rob, like Forrest, maybe Magic, I'll get his thoughts today, that the market is, in my opinion, maybe not even close to being over. And so, yeah, to me, this is pretty big news. I do want to share some other breaking, massive, enormous news that's going to shake the markets. Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce are officially engaged. They're engaged. I don't know. Do they deserve a round of applause? Gina, what are your thoughts? You're into pop culture here. What are your thoughts on Travis and Taylor? Do you think it's going to last, or will it be another celebrity?
I don't care about these people.
You don't care about them?
No, I don't care about them.
You think it'll last?
Probably not. Look at her track record.
What's her? Oh,
she's gonna write the ultimate album.
What is her track? Oh, it'll be titled Travis Kelce.
Yes.
Obviously.
Millions.
What's up? What'd you say?
Gonna make millions.
They're gonna make millions. They're gonna make babies, American babies. Okay. I've been watching too much Kill Tony. That was such a good episode. Okay. One of my virtual shit coins pumped so hard this morning that I finally broke even. Yeah, the markets have gotten interesting on the altcoin side. Let's talk about ETH, okay? From Nate Garassi. Spot ETH ETFs with over $440 million of inflows yesterday on a down day, the top 10 inflow day since launch. Categories 10 best days have all come since mid-July. Okay? If you've been watching our show, we've been sharing the news. It's not just the ETFs. It's not just treasury companies. It's the OG Bitcoin whales. The ones, not every one of them, but some of them. The ones that have 10,000, 15,000, 100,000 Bitcoin that are rotating money from Bitcoin to Ethereum. And, well, if you're wondering where are we at in the cycle, just think historically how money has flowed, okay? Now, it's not going to flow the same exact way. It's not going to go to ETH and then to every mid-cap. It'll go from ETH to some mid-caps and some small caps, and then it'll go from the mid-caps to a very tiny amount of small caps and speculative plays, and then I think that money will rotate back into Bitcoin, and then people will cash it out. And so there you have it. We're starting to see money flow into the Ethereum ETF, into Ethereum treasury strategies, into Ethereum spot, and we're seeing money flow out of Bitcoin. Bitcoin dominance is dropping, and so, yeah. We also have this piece of news, well, not piece of news, but taking a look. As stated yesterday, BlackRock led the way again. 315 million flowed in only, and I think this is Grayscale, of course. Only Grayscale saw outflows, 29.2 million. Now, compared to Bitcoin, which Bitcoin didn't have that bad of a day yesterday, but let's take a look at the Bitcoin ETF flows from farside.uk. Yesterday was the first positive inflow day from Bitcoin over the last 7 trading days. 219 million flowed into the Bitcoin ETFs. Fidelity led the way here at 65.6. BlackRock not too far behind at $63.4 million. And, well, we have this piece of news also. Ethereum Treasury SharpLink adds another $252 million worth of Ethereum to their holdings. They hold now approximately $3.6 billion worth of Ethereum. Guys, if we can get the network activity to ramp up even more than what it is now on Ethereum, and that token becomes deflationary, you're going to see a huge run. You're going to see a big run. You're going to see massive spikes. You'll see some profit taking along the way, of course, which is what you want to see. Markets run hot. They cool off. They settle for a little bit. Then they run hot again. It goes up in legs, just like we saw with Bitcoin. If you look at the weekly time frame on the charts, then we're going to see the same thing with ETH. And my God, when that token becomes deflationary and usage spikes and projects launch and stable coins come online from these banks and institutions, treasuries continue to buy, it's going to be pretty big. So I hope those of you watching that have been watching our show for the last year, I hope you weren't listening to the guy who's not here. I hope you're listening to the guy that is here. Because mentally with ETH, I've been here the whole time, right? People have come on the show and said ETH is slow, ETH is dead, ETH is not going to do anything. I've told you time and time again, do not sleep on Ethereum. You cannot ignore the amount of value and money that is not only currently on the chain, but is coming on the chain, right? We're seeing things come on the chain. And they're coming. Why are you laughing, Matthew? You all right? You giggling? Anyways. Okay. Let's talk about BTC a little bit. This is Senor Tim Draper. Billionaire Tim Draper. My apologies. Billionaire Tim Draper. It's like you got to say His Excellency when you talk about Justin Sun. This is him talking about a major trend toward Bitcoin. So interesting, and then we'll bring Magic on and break down some charts.
A limited amount of cryptocurrencies out there. So what's the argument against that there can't be debasement via just new cryptos appearing and soaring like Ethereum has?
Oh, I think there will be many other cryptocurrencies. Competition is good for the world, but as a percentage of all cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin, with the first boom, they had 40% market share. And with the next boom, they had 50% market share. And now market share is running around 61, 62%. Over time, the dominant supplier builds the strongest network, and so all the programmers program to that dominant supplier. A lot of really interesting, innovative things happened when Microsoft was getting going, and they were the platform everybody built on. But there were a few really important applications, and they all got ported to Microsoft. Well, the same thing's happening now with Bitcoin. All of these smaller cryptocurrencies are experimenting and doing interesting things, and all the great engineers are porting those to Bitcoin. And so there is a gravitational pull toward Bitcoin, and yeah, there are other currencies that will come up as flashes in the pan. But I think overall we've got a major trend toward Bitcoin.
Look, I'm not a billionaire. Tim probably knows more about financial markets than I will. He definitely knows more about finance. But I disagree. Sure, if you want to talk about profits coming back to Bitcoin, sure. But who the fuck, what developer is like, I got this badass idea? Ethereum, Solana, Hedera, XRP, oh, Bitcoin. I want to build on Bitcoin. No one's doing that. The only way anything is built on Bitcoin is if it's by proxy, if it's a Cardano sidechain, if it's Lightning Network, if it's something Bitcoin native, like, I don't know, chain key Bitcoin on ICP. But like, what developer in their right mind looks at Bitcoin and says, that's where I want to build my application that's going to onboard 1 billion users? No one. But I do think ultimately those profits, some of it will roll back into Bitcoin. All right, got my boy Magic joining me today. I traded in the Pinto for the Ferrari here. No Rob, add Magic. Magic, welcome back, man. Happy to have you, brother. How you been? What are your thoughts on the markets?
I stay trashy just like the markets right now. They're in the dumpster. So
can you show us the rest of the shirt there? Can you just lift it up?
That's just
Is that a raccoon?
It's a nice friendly raccoon.
I love your shirts, bro. I like that you have a different one every week, man. I appreciate that. Honestly,
I am one of those like
I'll be honest, bro.
Junkies.
That's why we bring you on every week, not for the charts, but for the shirts. So, yeah.
I'll keep that in mind. I'll have to up my game.
All right. All jokes aside, Magic. Thoughts on the markets? Thoughts on the dip? We know that there was a whale that sold 24,000 BTC on Sunday. Usually a low liquidity day, right? The ETFs aren't open, stock market's not open, not a lot of trading happens. Although we do see those big pullbacks or big run-ups during the weekend, Saturdays and Sundays. You think it was just that? Do you think it was more than that? What's your analysis on where the market is? And I know I'm throwing a lot of questions at you, but do you think Bitcoin is close to a bottom, at least a local bottom?
Yeah, I think you got some targets that we've been talking about that are going to come into fruition here. And I didn't actually know anything about the whale that sold over the weekend. I just knew that when it happened, again, we've talked about this, where anytime you get a low for the week that comes in non-traditional hours, you have an upwards of 80% chance of taking said low. And you did almost immediately, which is generally the case if you make a high or a low outside of traditional trading hours. So you had to expect that coming into the new week, we would at least make another low. These are some levels we talked about last time. They're more high time frame, where we said this is more of like a break of structure retest, where you're saying, okay, we had a change of behavior on a monthly time frame and quarterly right here at about 108,450. But when I start to look at things through the lens of, is this correction over? This certainly could be. There is a setup here where you get into like your 4-hour candle, you see that your RSI is coming down, basically oversold, and you've had a swing fail into key support. That's actually something that I've back tested quite heavily, and it's a really good trading setup. The thing is it only offers up a trade setup. It doesn't mean it's the exact low. So that's the issue with that, is a lot of people are going to want, where's the exact low? And you don't always get it. So what you have done is actually back tested the 4-hour SFP that took place into the new week, into there. And it gave you a nice like 1% move up into, basically a take profit, because the previous week low is now kind of the most important relevant level on the chart for any kind of a potential rally here. So if you're looking for this, you'll be watching 110,560.9. This is going to be an area of interest right here. This is the low that I've got marked out. That's the low I want to see taken out if we're going to see it. So if we can get back above there, my eyes do shift up a little bit. It doesn't actually mean that we're going back to all-time highs, though. I would really like to iterate that looking at the previous week and previous month candles has been something that we've done a lot of here recently. And it's going to allow people to kind of put things in perspective when you know where the previous week high and low and EQ are. And the exact same thing can be said for the monthly. So right now, your previous week EQ and previous month EQ line up together, showing you that this 114 level, which is where that R2 was on the macro, if you recall, but it's also going to be some standard deviations we'll talk about in a minute, is kind of your key zone. So if you wanted to, box it off, you certainly could, because this is also where you're going to find things like your weekly open. I believe that's where our pivots, our averages of price for the 30-day and 60-day are both coming in this region as well, showing us that until Bitcoin is back above 114, that most of these bounces are just lower highs and it hasn't really accomplished anything, and that we could still expect lower prices. The question is how much lower, and that for me is not a difficult question because when you start looking at untapped averages that hit at very high rates, we obviously have the bi-quarterly or the 6 month, if you prefer to use that terminology, which I think I do. It's just I'm used to saying bi-quarterly since it's actually labeled that in the indicator here. And I need to squish over the label to the left at 97.8. That's really kind of a worst case scenario for me if this is still in a bull market. I think you could realistically come all the way to here and bounce and still remain objectively bullish, but it wouldn't look as good. So if I was going to front run a drop like that, I would go back to my standard deviations. This has been the well for us in terms of trading at very simple levels. Not something I have to reiterate, that you're just trading the standard deviation closures of the last 6 months on price and just projecting them out to utilize them as past data for forward-looking levels. And this is how they've played out so far. And since you've given up the +2, if we are to see this not recover this little zone here that we had boxed off, which lines up nicely at that deviation level, we would expect to see about 106. So it's not too far away. It's not like the end of the world. But again, it gives you a good spot to look at and gauge and say, okay, well, I know that we have this average down here that's good for 6 months, right? And it lines up with the quarterly average too, and that we know that's very important. But when can I realistically be the bear in the room and say 97K is on the table? It would be below 106. And I think that as long as we're below 114, which is also, again, those EQs, very good averages of price coming in as well from like a 30 and 60-day time frame, that unless you clear here, I'm expecting to see here over time. Maybe it fiddles around down here and it gives us some more trade setups, and you could certainly take those because it is support. But I think the more meaningful area for me, at least on my radar right now, is 105,799. And if we lost that, then I would really shift and say, okay, this average is probably definitely getting hit. And if you're in shorts from any of these other positions, you're now trading for these levels, assuming you've taken some profit and not closed the whole thing. But you would then have targets extended out, I guess. So yeah, that's how I see it. But above 114, call it 114, 115 here, was that 114, 695?
Yeah.
Honestly, that's a decent sign of strength if it can get back above there.
Let me ask you a question, Magic. From a probability standpoint, you think it's more probable that Bitcoin heads to 114 first or 106 first?
Man, it's right in the middle of the range. If we were to put a line right down the middle, that's where we're at.
Yeah.
Put me in a tough spot there. It could certainly bounce up that high. That's okay. I mean, I think that you would just it's a 50-50 coin flip. This isn't an area that I would trade without an entry signal. Like if I don't have what I need to see to take the trade, I wouldn't just blindly put in a long here hoping to back test these areas. Now, what I will tell you is that I would probably weigh more towards a move up first. And the only reason is you do have the averages above you. And oftentimes price will revert back to these before the session even closes. It'll start reverting back to them. So knowing that we're at support, I would say 60-40, you get to see maybe like somewhere between 113 and 14 first before coming down. And that's kind of, if I was in a long and I had an entry trigger, that's how I would trade it. This would be a meaningful take profit area for me.
Amen. I love your analysis, man. I really do. Nobody in the chat said that 1 hour looks like a bear flag. I know you're not a big pattern trader, but I kind of saw the same thing. And so, yeah, I mean, that would tell us it should break to the downside, but these are all just probabilities. Is it going to happen? Yep. Maybe, right?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Definitely. Sorry, I didn't know if you asked me a question. I was like, oh.
It wasn't a question, but I thought you were starting to say something, and then I was like, let me not talk because, you know, we're used to Robin buttoning in our conversations. But, okay, Magic, Cronos. Big announcement today. Trump Media Group and Cronos are doing a Cronos treasury, which, by the way, I'm not saying I'm some savant here. Like, people saw this coming, but I've been telling people to hone in on these, right? From like a research perspective, you're seeing the trend. We saw Bitcoin, we started seeing ETH, and then you start seeing rumors of like a Solana one and this one. I'm like, you're going to see more and more of these. It's kind of like I don't want to say an infinite money hack, but it's definitely a way for these companies to make a lot of money and in the thick of the market. And so to me, when I think of from narrative, like price action aside, and Magic, if you want to queue up a Cronos chart, I'm going to come to you for that next. Price action aside, these companies that have the resources, have the money, have been in the markets for a while, understand market trends, where the markets are going, they look at, you know, macro data and factors. Would they be spending this money if they knew or they thought that we're in a bear market and there was another 50% downside? To me, the question is no. Not to say these guys don't make mistakes and they don't invest in the wrong times, but you're seeing a trend of they're buying even more, and there's more announcements and treasuries. And so off the news of the Cronos treasury, they're going to buy $6.4 billion worth of the Crow token, which, Magic, is slightly less than the entire market cap of the Cronos token right now. I know we had a big move. I'm expecting a pullback to the 13 to 14 cent region. Magic, what are you seeing on the chart? And if people are excited by the news and they want to buy it, okay, I'm excited about the news, right? Because we don't get financial advice. I'm excited about the news, but I don't want to buy now because it's ran. I want to wait for a dip. What are some levels that I should have my eye on that Cronos could potentially pull back to and see a really nice bounce?
Yeah. So this is an interesting chart, in my opinion, because of that news. And you have some higher lows in place. We're on log scale for a reason. But I actually had a chance to look at this one before the show because you gave me a little heads up. And it's always appreciated in some cases. This one, not a ton of history, but a decent amount, goes back to almost 2020. So first and foremost, structure's okay. You can see that you've got some very clear outline resistance here on a monthly. And if we zoom out just a little bit further to like a 6 month, you have not actually cleared this 6 month level here at 16 cents even on a closing basis yet in quite some time. And you've been battling that since July of 22. So big level to have on the chart. The other one you're going to want to look at is, we're trading above, this level. We would expect to see the new high, which is also last year's high. So that's kind of going to be your trap zone that you want to pay attention to, mainly because it does start to come in here at a naked average price. And I'll tell you that these are very good when they are untapped like that and they're left over. And I think a really good example was the yearly. And this one was untapped right here, coming all the way back. But if you were to extend it out, it's literally the exact high right here. Oh. So that 2024 high was off the back of an untapped pivot. So I do track those, and that's why I indicate what they are, that they're untapped, much like naked points of control. You'll see that you've got a nice little box here, and it's a window of lots of good news, and really good things could be happening for this, and they certainly appear to be. But if I were to be a betting man, that if I was going to get people trapped into the highs, it would be right here. Breakout traders getting wrecked. Now, that doesn't mean it can't just power through this and go to other targets. But I will say this thing is generally one of those that if you get out of, logarithmic scale and you look at it in linear, it just kind of looks like a dead heartbeat. And that's not to say that it is or isn't. It's just, that's just what it looks like. But when you look at the overall high to low from the last cycle, you'll see that you're also coming into your first actual Fibonacci levels as well. It's only a 25% retrace. So if I was a betting man, I would say that you're probably going to get a rejection up here between 23 and 26 cents. And it's, I mean, it might go as high as 30 cents, who knows? But I think that this little box is going to play. And if I were to be shorting it anywhere, I'd be looking back to this 16-cent region, mainly because you have that there stacked with your yearly open. So if I was looking for a trade, it would just be from here to here. And then if this holds, that's another higher low. And that's a great place to start looking at. And I think you had mentioned levels very similar to what I have boxed off here in blue for support.
Yep.
It's 14.1 up to 16 cents. So if I wanted to buy, that's where I'd be interested in it. You could take this shorter. You guys could not. It's up to you. But it's definitely got everything there to like a hallmark to, hey, we could potentially get a good trade there.
I would honestly, and not to cut you off, I would take that short if Bitcoin is under like $5,500. Or sorry, Ethereum. If ETH is under 5,500, 6,000, I'll take that short. And I honestly believe if Bitcoin's at 150K, ETH was at 6,000, this news comes out, I think Cronos would be sitting at 35, 40 cents right now. The momentum would carry you through. But I agree. Now, also, if we want to throw that chart back up there, Gina, that if it does come into a double top there, you're looking at a potential cup and handle pattern with a big breakout to the upside. And again, Magic, I know you don't trade patterns a lot. But,
No, I see what you're talking about, though.
Yeah. And then that would be, it would make sense. You retrace the handle part, we get down to that 14.1 cent level, and then it's a breakout to the upside. And so I'm fairly bullish. I think this news is bullish, but we'll see how it plays out. Now, again, there are some locks in place. I know a lot of people are like, oh, well, what if they sell? I think for 1 year, they can't touch any tokens. And then after a year, it's like every 6 months, they get a certain percentage that they can now access to sell or to stake or whatever the hell they want to do. Okay. Magic, if we can pivot to ETH, Ethereum put in a new all-time high over the weekend, and then everything just
it's fine.
It looks like ETH has bottomed. I don't know. Is ETH closer to a bottom than Bitcoin is? What's your analysis on Ethereum moving forward, and then in relation to Bitcoin as well?
Sure. For me, ETH is more kind of about time, whereas I think it's playing out its cycles move right now, obviously in a very impulsive fashion, just like it played out this one here reciprocally. Like they do coincide quite well. So just watching this try to meet its time obligation in quarter four. So yeah, a pullback like that doesn't concern me. You did backtest the monthly swing fail here, which is just on top of that trend-based gold pocket we've talked about. So as long as you're remaining back above these levels here, right around $3,800, this thing can pull back and it's fine. Now, the moment you give up $3,800, that's when the question and the flag starts to go up and say, okay, we're probably going to see 34. And if I see this level, and it doesn't hold like that was the top probably. So I am expecting it to still reach this like $5,500 region. It's just a matter of a few days to weeks. I don't know that I would pin it against Bitcoin too much right now, because I think it's outperforming Bitcoin, if I recall, on the pairing. I don't keep track of it, but I've seen a lot of talk about it. So yeah, it's probably doing its own thing, which generally isn't a good thing for anyone that's looking for an extended cycle. I think that is what happens at the end of cycles. Yep. So it is one of those things where if ETH is performing well, I think other altcoins will too. But I do think that this all-time high, like you'd ask me if there was any resistance, I think it was back here for ETH before, this level that I had boxed off. I said realistically, it's just like an SFP, the all-time high. But even then, even if it SFP'd all the way back down, it's just a higher low. It's not that big of a deal. So ETH to me looks fine. And when I say it's closer to a bottom, I don't keep up on the low time frames as much on ETH, to be upfront with you. I don't have a very good answer. Otherwise, I'd give you one.
Okay, fair enough. And then Magic, one more chart, if I may. Now, I was doing my trading show yesterday, and I took a short on Aerodrome. A lot of factors there that kind of, there was some bearish divergence on, I think, the daily time frame. Volume was dropping. We had a failure at that. I think it was like $1.35 or $1.42. We took a short. We made money. But there's a lot of things from a fundamental standpoint that are happening for Aerodrome with Base, Ethereum. Aerodrome is working directly with Coinbase, or it's being integrated into the Coinbase main app that the normies use to give them access to literally everything that's not only on Base, but essentially on Ethereum. Well, actually, let me backtrack. That's definitely on Base. I don't know about Ethereum yet. So this would be massive. It would benefit Aerodrome. It would obviously benefit Coinbase. It would benefit Ethereum because Base doesn't have a native token. What are you seeing on the Aerodrome chart? Do you think there's more downside there? Or is there a good, because I think this one could be a really good performer as long as Coinbase's trajectory stays or grows. They bring on more users, and those users now have access to Aerodrome and they're using it. Yeah, what is the Aerodrome chart? What are you seeing on there?
Well, this is one we hadn't looked at in a while. I think we had this bearish pattern, and we were saying that this is where we wanted to buy. It actually exceeded those targets by a fair amount, actually, like 40%. So not always going to win them there. But in terms of where you're at, we had one level to the upside that we had marked off. I don't know when we looked at this one. It had to be a long time ago.
Been a while.
But it was a monthly swing fail level here, which is what you've bumped into at 158.8. So that's your resistance that you were noting. And then I'm actually going to pull up a fib real quick just to kind of see where we're at in life on this one. Kind of curious how far to the gold pocket we are. Yeah, all right, we're at a log. Yeah, it's at the gold pocket. So this is a great trade setup for you to take a short on. Yes. You had dual confluence, macro gold pocket right into a large high time frame swing fail pattern. Obviously, it's probably bouncing off of the yearly open, I would assume right now. It's probably messing around with it. Yeah, it's just coming down here and dinging around. So could it come back up here and try to make a new high? Potentially, yes. Maybe stop people out early. But until you actually clear one, we'll call it $1.60, I would say this is pretty good resistance. And above $1.60, if it like just claims that level and this thing remains uber bullish, yeah, you're looking for $2, But as far as levels to the downside, what I would say to anyone that's looking to buy the dip, you could scale in if you're in spot, things like that. But again, Aerodrome operates a lot like most of the crypto market where you don't see bars like this too often. And I'm going to try to do my best to highlight this right here. This little guy, you'll notice he doesn't take a high or a low, but most of these are going to take either the low or the high. And based off of where we are
you talking about that spinning top there, Magic?
Yeah, well, kind of. Yeah. So this bar right here specifically, you notice how it hasn't taken a high or a low of the previous bar.
Yep.
This one didn't here. We don't see very many of those across the board in crypto. So I would expect that, if you start losing the 2025 open, that you're really more wise to just wait until you at least take the previous week low at $1.20. And then you just got to start looking for meaningful support and saying, okay, if $1.20 doesn't hold, which is like my last daily settle up here, I'm probably looking down closer to like $1.09 to $1. I'm probably looking into this like retest of old resistance right here. So if I was patient, because I know everyone in the space is patient. We don't FOMO.
Hell yeah, dude. I'm so patient, man. Insane.
I would be, well, you have kids. That's what's taught you to be patient. So,
actually, no, the kids have drained the patience that's left in me. It's gone. So I don't have any more. That's why I FOMO in 68x longs on crypto. So
yeah. So last local gold pocket right here from low to high comes in right at this little box where it's just like your last daily settle ups and the Q4 high that we had marked off previously as key support and resistance. I would just say that if I wanted to buy in fresh or look for new positions, I'd be willing to maybe put some adjusted risk on down here, somewhere between $1.09 and $1.01, just kind of gauging off reaction and entry trigger.
Awesome. Magic, you every week you come on here, bro, you put on like a master class of technical analysis. Very thorough, not biased, very even. That's one thing I loved about Forrest when I first met him and started watching his content, is that he's always very even. He's never too high, never too low, just kind of in the middle, looks at the data, and you did the same. And so we love having you on. Magic, before I let you go, did you see what happened on Twitter with the Winklevoss twins and Gemini?
I did not.
Okay, so they had an announcement with XRP in the chart, and so Tyler Winklevoss, right, one of the owners, one of the twins of Gemini, he posts this picture and he's trying to show that the Gemini app is trending higher than like City, but people noticed that next to Gemini, it shows that it's not on his phone, it's actually on the cloud, which means he doesn't have the app downloaded, but when you go down, he's got Coinbase downloaded. Okay, so this caused some uproar, and this was their reasoning. Okay, Gemini's reasoning was, we've been quality assurance testing all day, deleting and re-downloading the app to make sure our users have the best possible experience. This is what the trenches look like. And I'm like, bullshit. So I put a poll. I was like, are you buying the explanation? Yes or no? Right now, there's been 160 votes. 90% say no. Magic, I want to know your vote. Do you buy the explanation as to why the founder of Gemini does not have his own app downloaded on his phone, but he's got the Coinbase app? I just need to know your thoughts.
I trust corporations and the mouthpieces for them less than I trust politicians.
You're such a fucking liar, dude. How can you not trust them, man? When have they ever lied to us? You know? Never. They would never do that. Magic, love having you on, as I said before. Thank you so much. Guys, if you're watching, I would highly encourage you, go join Magic's Discord. I have it pinned to the top of the chat section. He comes on our show every single Tuesday, but if you want more from him, his business partner, Max, who also does a phenomenal job looking at different data sets like open interest, and then his community as well. Go join his Discord. You'll gain a lot of knowledge from it. And Magic, as always, my friend, thank you so much for joining us. Have a great weekend, brother, or week. And then any parting words before I let you go?
Stay trashy, guys. That's it.
Anything you want to, you never shill anything. Anything you want to shill to the people? Anything?
I don't shill anything. I get offers all the time to shill stuff, and I just don't.
Yeah. You're one of the few, man. I respect you, brother. And again, we love having you on. And thank you for the friendship and for the charts. Have a great week. We'll see you next week, bro.
See you. Thanks, guys.
All right. God, guys, I'm telling you, people like Magic are few and far between. The guy is an absolute, he's a genius. So big shout out to Magic. All right, let's talk some altcoins. Solana. Mr. Robin's been calling for a Solana summer in the southern hemisphere. Well, because right now it's summer in the northern hemisphere and summer's about to end and then summer starts. And so, anyways, take a look here. Solana dApps surpassed all L1 and L2 dApps in revenue over the last 24 hours. You can see Solana number one, Hyperliquid, only $1 million behind. So, and we'll talk about Hyperliquid here in a second. Hyperliquid, look, I get a lot of things right. I get a lot of things wrong. I make a lot of money on some things. I lose the opportunity to make money on other things. Hyperliquid, when it dropped down to $13, and I was telling people, be careful. I don't know. I fucked up. That was a mistake. I missed out on that opportunity. I wish that I would have emptied 20% of my dry powder into Hyperliquid. I think this thing is going to rocket. And so I was incorrect about Hyperliquid. Those of you that didn't listen to me in that instance, good job. Okay, we can't bat 1,000. But Solana, again, surpassing, guys, Solana, I think, didn't Solana already wasn't it going on a run? It's at 193. I believe it ran up to like 217. I could be wrong. Yeah, right, 211. This was yesterday. And then everything dropped, of course. Now, obviously, when you look at a project like Solana, not as much upside as a project like, say, Hedera, Cardano, only because these other projects are further away from their all-time high. Unless for some reason you think Solana is going to gain like 50% dominance in stable coins, then sure. Then you're talking about a $1,500 to $2,000 Solana. I don't think that's going to happen, at least not this cycle. And so, yeah, Crypto Stevo said I faded Hyperliquid too. Yeah, man. That was a big misstep on my end. I'm still kicking myself in the ass, but it's okay. We move forward. Speaking of alts, Cardano ranks #1 in core development commits over the past year, surpassing Ethereum. We all know with Cardano, right? The shoe store is beautiful. They got the best shoes, the shoes that last the longest, right? They got shoes from Air Jordan. They got the LeBrons. They got the Kobe's. You can do anything there. You can go in there and make your own shoe. People just need to come and buy the shoes, right? They need to put in a credit card payment processing system so people don't have to just come in and pay with cash or check, right? And I'm referring to having a centralized stablecoin like USDC or USDT, which drives TVL in volume. So it's there. The shoe store is there. Let's get the people in there. Let's bring them in, show them what we got. This is what you can do. These are the shoes you can buy here that you can't buy anywhere else. But we need to bring those people in there. And, you know, we're doing our best to help, man. We love Cardano. We love what it stands for. We love the community. Just need to get people into the store. Start spending your money. Buy it. So, and then Hyperliquid. Listen to this, okay? This is fucking insane when you think about it. Robinhood is the largest retail, I don't want to say trading app, but largest retail platform that people buy, sell, and trade stocks in the world, or at least in the US. And Hyperliquid surpassed Robinhood in the month of July, okay, with $330 billion in trading volume. Now, to my understanding, okay, Hyperliquid is 95% crypto. Robinhood is like 80%. I know my numbers are off. 80% stocks and bond or whatever. So when you compare the two, and one has 330 million, I don't know the number of the Robinhood, but it surpassed that of Robinhood for Hyperliquid. Super bullish. It's sitting at, where's Hyperliquid sitting at right now? Hyperliquid is sitting at, this is going to crack the top 10. I really think this is going to crack 15.8 billion. Fully diluted is 47.5 billion. I think this is a $100 billion project, maybe $80 to $100 billion project. Not fully diluted. And fully diluted obviously would be a lot higher. But with what coins are circulating, and fuck, man, and I'm like, you know, what I'm talking about is this dip we had here back in April, where there was like a hack or something, or I forget what happened, but something happened to the network, or the money got stolen, and it dropped down, and I just, oh man, I'm kicking myself in the butt for that one. But I'm looking to buy the dip on Hyperliquid. Obviously, there's not as much upside as if you were buying at $11 to $13, obviously, but I still think there's going to be a lot more upside. I know the airdrop season 2 is around the corner, is coming. And they're just crushing every metric. Like the model they have is so good. Obviously, it's not perfect, but it's so good. It's so good. And then I want to give an update on some ETFs. In case you missed it, Bitwise filed for a Chainlink ETF. Okay, Chainlink ETF. They've applied. Now the problem is, and I'll share here with you in a second, what the SEC has been doing. Also, Canary Capital is looking to launch a Trump meme coin ETF. And then, by the way, I'm curious, just real quick. Do you guys know when I'm posting on X versus when Rob is posting on X? Do you guys know? Put a 1 for yes, put a 2 for no. If you know when it's me or Rob on X that's posting, I'm curious. Do you guys know, or are you still a little confused? Rob posted this and said, hey, this means that nothing's a security. They kind of already said that, right? The SEC kind of said that. They're working on framework and blah, 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 blah. But, I mean, a lot of people are also pointing this, saying this is like end of the cycle shit. I don't know if it's end of the cycle shit. Maybe it is. I don't think so. I think end of the cycle shit's going to be one of these altcoin treasury companies blowing up, or a Bitcoin treasury company blowing up. I think that's what's going to cause the cascading effects and really kick us into the bear market. Now, the SEC, they've been on a delaying spree. They've officially delayed their decision on the Grayscale Cardano spot ETF. New deadline looks like October, end of September, October is going to be the time frame where we're going to get a final answer. Yes or no? No more, maybe, babe. Maybe in a month, maybe in a week, maybe in 2 weeks. It's like the day has come. She's in your face. Are we doing it or not? And that's what the SEC is faced with in just, I think, a little under 2 months. What I think is happening, a lot of people are concerned about this. My thoughts is, I don't think the SEC is doing this because they plan on rejecting. I think the SEC is holding off as long as possible to see if the Clarity Act gets passed in Congress. Because if it does, it'll make their jobs a lot easier. If it doesn't, then they have to start looking at, well, what are the rules of the road? We got to decipher what's decentralized, what's not, what's an ICO, what's not. Can we do airdrops? Can we do this? So I think that is the reason why you're seeing a lot of delays. Now, at the end, I don't think it's going to be denied. Even if October rolls around, we don't have the Clarity Act signed into law, I don't think the SEC would deny the ETFs. At that point, they'll just start making their own framework. And so to those of you that are concerned or have shown concern that why are they delaying, shouldn't they? Remember, he's been in office for 2 months. He's been the chairman for 2 months. We're talking about Paul Atkins here, the chairman of the SEC. So those are my thoughts. Nothing to worry about. It's across the board delays, but I think when the final judgment day is here, they'll get approved regardless of whether the Clarity Act is in play. Also, if there's any questions you'd like me to answer, please throw it in the chat. If you're new, sub to the channel, have a notification bell on as I take a little swig of water. I'm kind of digging these solo shows, man. I'm not going to lie. It's nice. I feel like I'm more animated. I get to get my point across. Obviously, I love my boy Rob, and I love the show we have, but I think maybe once every 3 weeks, Rob and I each have a solo show. That might be a good idea. What do you guys think about that? Once every 2 weeks, Rob and I do one show solo. You can get 100% Rob on one show, 100% David on one show. Let me know. You like that idea? Yes or no? Put a 1 for yes, put a 2 for no. I'm genuinely curious. All right, I'm going to throw some alpha your way, okay? Let's start with here, and then I'll get into whether the cycle is over, okay? So, here we go. This is another Hyperliquid story, but there's a little twist to it, okay? Prediction markets on Hyperliquid. Over the next few weeks, Mercury is going to be heavily focused on bringing multiple prediction markets to the masses. If you're building in this niche, our DMs are open. We're extremely excited to push this vertical forward, okay? Now, when I see this, I've already been on the gambling, sports betting prediction train. You guys know this. I have a large allocation to D-King. I have a medium allocation to AI on 5100. I have a large allocation to BitTensor for those reasons. AI, predictions market, they kind of go 2 and 2 together. Just take a look at Vegas. No matter what the condition of the market, Super Bowl every year, millions of people fly in. Millions of people spend money on prop bets and sports betting. It's a hundreds of billion-dollar industry, and it's going global, and it's not just tied to Vegas now. It's legal in almost all the states, and it's going to continue to be legalized moving forward. And in the world of AI and LLMs, prediction markets are going to be hot. Look at what Polymarket did. Look at what Kalshi did. So look at what Stake is doing. Big shout out to Stake. And so I look at this, I'm like, okay, Hyperliquid, they're building on Hyperliquid. Interesting, okay. And then I'm thinking on the line, okay, well, which ones do I think could benefit that I can make a lot of money on? And so I'm giving you some obviouses, but I'm going to tell you why, okay? The obvious one here is BitTensor. This is the foundation of where a lot of these betting large language models are born from. Not saying it's the only one, but at least in crypto, at the very least, it is the place, okay? And you're talking about a $3.2 billion project with a halving coming up in like 2-3 months. Same halving as Bitcoin. Emissions are literally going to get cut in half. And this token has a max supply of 21 million. So it's the Bitcoin model tokenomically, okay? It's the Bitcoin model tokenomically. 21 million with 4-year halving cycles. I believe it's 4-year halving. Is it 4-year halving cycles? Maybe it's not 4-year halving cycles. Maybe it's 2-year or 1-year halving cycles, but same idea. Halving cycles get cut in half the emissions, okay? When you look at these subnets on BitTensor, and by the way, I know you guys are going to ask, here's a website where you can learn all about BitTensor subnets, what they do, okay? Take a look at this. I have some of them highlighted here. So the first one is subnet number 6. This is Infinite Games. This is what powers AI on 5100. AI subnet for forecasting real-world events using probabilistic predictions and collective intelligence. You also have, going down here, Subnet 30, BetTensor. BetTensor is a sports prediction subnet rewarding accurate predictions for humans and AI models. You have Subnet 31, Candles. Candles crowdsources crypto market sentiment predictions, turning collective forecasts into on-chain data, right? It's the predictions market. Subnet 41, Sports Tensor. Pioneers accurate decentralized sports predictions leveraging BitTensor for advanced analytics and collaborations. Subnet 44, which powers D-King, soon to be Sire, my largest microcap holding. Okay. Score. It's called Score. Score rewards accurate football match predictions by validating and scoring them against actual outcomes. Very unique what they're doing. I think I had one more highlighted here. Maybe I didn't. Yeah, I think those are the only ones I highlighted. I didn't go through all of them. I think there's 128 subnets. Yeah. And this number is going to grow. I think they're talking about bumping it up from 128 subnets to 256. And so keep your eye on that. And, you know, DTAO, I know it's been pretty shitty from a price action standpoint, but you start seeing TAO move, DTAO will move as well. Some of these subnets and their tokens will move as well. And so on our Patreon page, those Patreon members, I did an entire tutorial video on how to get access and exposure to some of the subnets via dynamic TAO, how to stake it to the different validators. And so if you're not part of Patreon, you want to learn, I did put it up as you can just buy that one single video tutorial. I think it's like 10 or 15 bucks. And so go to our Patreon. That link's in the description of the video. So we have that. We have D-King, which again, I told you guys, I have a big bag of this. I am super bullish on this project, sitting at sub $15 million market cap. And yes, Brokyoshi, Score is adding NFL and NBA also. I think eventually they're going to have all the mainstream sports. They kind of do. Basketball, football, that's 3. You're missing baseball, hockey, and WNBA, as long as they don't sit out the year because they're not getting paid what you owe them. Anyways, so this is my number one micro cap holding. Full stop. Period. Full transparency. Number one. I migrated all my tokens. It was sad to see him go out of my wallet. Cried a little bit. But by the way, you have 2 days. 2 days. If you're sitting on D-King, you have 2 days to migrate your tokens. If you're in our Discord, you know exactly how to do it. If you're not in our Discord, join our Discord and you'll see exactly how to do it. Okay. Third one is AION 5100. This one I'm a little less bullish on. I have a lot less of exposure to this one than I do with D-King. But still, this one is worth it. The team is great, and this one is powered by subnet number 6. So predictions markets are going to be a big vertical, are going to be a big play, and so make sure you are properly allocated. And these are just some. If you dig in and do more research, you'll find more. Okay? And then one more thing I wanted to talk about was this topic of the market's over. Okay? I'm going to need a swig of water for this next one here. Yeah. I am hearing a lot of chatter. The market's over. Bear market. What a shitty bull market. And I'm here to tell those people to shut the fuck up and pay attention to what I'm about to share. Okay? So, Glassnode issues warning. Bitcoin's bull run could be running out of time. Let's see what they had to say. Okay. So I have highlighted here past cycles. Okay. Everyone compares, myself too, historically, what's happened, what will happen. Past cycles. Okay. Moving on. Market lagging behind previous peaks. This is what the title of the subsection is. According to Glassnode, Bitcoin's current performance since the cycle low shows similarities with past rallies, but this cycle appears to be lagging slightly behind previous. That delay, the firm warns, could either give the market room for another leg higher or set the stage for heightened risk if enthusiasm begins to fade. So I put out a post yesterday, or I think this was this morning. Said, look around you. Look at all the shit that is happening in our space, not from a price action standpoint, from a foundational and fundamental standpoint. Every business is bringing their products and services to the U.S. markets. I am telling you guys, the amount of emails, phone calls, requests for collaboration and sponsorships I am getting from projects that I reached out to 2 years ago And they simply said, we can't operate in the US. They asked for demographics. They say, what's your audience? Where are they watching from? And our audience, 52% is in the United States. And so when I would show them that info, they would say, we don't want to spend money on marketing with you because your audience is in the US. We don't serve US markets. The amount of, again, phone calls and emails that we've received from the companies that wouldn't even talk to us or listen to us or even entertain an offer to be a channel sponsor are now reaching out and say, what do we got to do to be a sponsor on your channel? We want the U.S. market. We want the U.S. user. It's one. Every week, a new treasury is announced. We have the Crypto.com one. We've had Solana treasury was announced, I think, earlier this week or last week. I think it was last week. The multiple Ethereum treasury companies, the multiple Bitcoin treasury companies. And it's not stopping here. I'm telling you, this is not going to stop. So that is happening. Legislation is being passed. We literally just had the first ever crypto legislation pass. And if you're not from the United States, I'll tell you something. It is hard as hell to pass legislation in the United States. Our politicians are more busy, are more worried about measuring their dicks against each other than getting anything done for the people that live in their country, for their constituents. They got it done. The stablecoin bill is done. There's another one, two more, that are probably going to be done, or at least are on track to be done. That is currently happening. That's happening now. Not next year, not next cycle. It's happening right now. The next one, money is moving on chain via tokenization. How many times have you heard? We're tokenizing everything. We're putting everything on chain. $1 trillion asset market here. $15 trillion real estate market here. $100 trillion pension market here. They're coming on chain, my friends. I'm not saying tomorrow or the next day. Eventually, this cycle, a lot of it's coming on chain. Okay? And then the last one. Monetary policy about to be softer than Gam's gums. Not the gum they chew, but like the gum the teeth sits on, you know? Don't ask me how I know Gam's teeth, gums are very soft. I just know she mentioned it a few times, okay? She said, my gums are too soft. Anyways, how the F can you be bearish? This is just a short list. I'll discuss this more on the live show. Well, today's the live show and I'm discussing it. A little bit about the last part here. The most important chart you'll read today. This is from the Kobayashi letter. Why is President Trump's attempt to fire Fed Governor Cook so pivotal? Because it would give Trump-appointed Fed governors the majority on the Fed board. A lot of people think that Jerome Powell can just walk in and say, we're cutting rates, we're holding rates, we're raising rates. No, it's a committee. Federal Open Market Committee. They sit around the table, they drink their espressos or teas, and like, hey guys, what should we do? Should we raise rates? Should we lower rates? Should we keep rates? And then collectively they decide. So if the people in the room are louder for a rate cut and Jerome Powell is outgunned, outmanned, outmajoritied, then they're going to get rate cuts. And so this is what the Kobayashi letter is saying. It would give Trump-appointed Fed governors a majority. 4 of these 7 Fed governors, excluding Powell, would be Trump-appointed. Now, we know Powell was Trump-appointed, so it's not to say that they're going to do everything Trump wants. There's a better chance of it happening. This would materially, why can I not say this word? Materially increase that number of rate cuts ahead. As President Trump calls for 300 basis points of rate cuts, this case will be pivotal. Never in Fed history has this happened. And what are they talking about? He just fired her. She's saying, I'm not leaving. You can't do that. He's saying, yes, I can for just cause. We'll see how this plays out. But guys, if you're sitting there and you're so honed in and focused on just the price and a 5% dip and a 10%, a 20% dip, you're missing the tree for the hills or the hills for the tree, whatever the fuck that saying is. You're stepping over dollars to pick up pennies. Stop looking here. Look here. Look at what is actually happening. Okay? Perfect example. The Cronos chart. Narrative came out, price moved. The narratives are heating up. They're starting. We've seen some of it. That's why Ethereum has ran. That's why Bitcoin has ran. We're not even 10% of the way to everything I just mentioned of it coming to fruition. And so if you're sitting there and you shit your pants because Bitcoin went from 125 to 110 and all of a sudden you're ready to sell everything at a loss, you've been telling your family the last 2 years, hey guys, all this money I'm putting into crypto, it's going to pay off, it's going to pay off, it's going to pay off. And then you sell on a 10% dip because you think the market's over and you fail to realize what's staring you in front of your eyes. Don't be stupid. This is literally an opportunity of a lifetime. I don't think people realize what we're literally going through and seeing right now in front of our eyes is the entire financial system is being upgraded. And you're at ground zero. You front ran the banks. You front ran the institutions. You front ran Wall Street. You front ran some of the smartest innovators and investors in the world. Don't fuck it up. That's all I got. Roll the outro. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Appreciate every single one of you. This was a great show. Hope you guys enjoy the content. Come back tomorrow. Rob will be back. Me and him run the show. Love you guys. Until then, peace.
Sin City, crypto, everybody know what we here for. Entertainment and info, gonna show you how to get that big dough. So every day stay tapped in, for big facts, no capping. With Bitcoin, if you're in, then you win. We divide the pie with no fraction. It's Big Rob, David, I split the game, but they gave it. Named according to your favorite, I got dry powder, why save it? To the OGs, new beginners, special shout out to the well members. Buy the dip, sell winners, ain't really nothing you can tell sinners. Tune in for the latest new flavors, they gonna teach us mean coins. They polarizing like barbecue chicken pizzas. I laugh with a major grin. Laggers, we trade them in. Baddies, they came to sin, and sinners gon' play to win. Screaming hola, till my bags are flowing over. Hold ya, to the moon, then to the solar. Won't I? Don't be letting FOMO control ya. It's over when the finger tornado close ya.